So at this time, I'd like to bring forth Mayor Riley Rogers. He's the reason we're all here today. Coffee with the Mayor, and here he is. Please give him a round of applause like Dalton style.
Thank you, everyone, for coming out this morning. I almost didn't want to come out with the weather the way it is, but I appreciate everybody showing up today. And I didn't expect this many people, but thank you. And we had a little miscommunication in regards to our condiments here this morning, but Elizabeth's getting ready to take care of that. One of the things I wanted to say was that after all the holidays and the new year, I'm glad to be here again. I'm glad everybody's here again with us this year. We're looking for to doing some exciting things this year in the village of Dalton, and I want all of you to be part of it. So I just wanted to greet you this morning. We got an excellent program today. Ashad has worked hard. The office, Mary, Elizabeth, and of course our volunteer coordinator Trini. She does a great job in making sure everybody is communicated with to make these things happen. So Ashad,
Yes,
why don't
sir.
we get started?
All right. Well, whenever we put together the Coffee with the Mayor or any programs for you, it's always because of something that Mayor Rogers told me about his vision or what he wanted to see, some of the services he wanted to see as it relates to those who are here in the village of Dalton. So whenever you hear these speakers or see these speakers, it's a result of his push and his desire to get this information to you. Sometimes, you don't just want to hear about healthcare. You want to hear about how to save money on electricity, right? You want to hear about what's going on with Public Works. You want to hear about what's going on with the police department. Well, this is a forum that Mayor Rogers puts together every Saturday of the month, second Saturday of the month. Every second Saturday of the month is Coffee with the Mayor. So you can come forward face to face and talk to him, ask him any questions. Even if you have anything that you're not very happy about, he takes it head on. So we have so many wonderful presenters today, and a couple of people I didn't even know for sure if they were going to be able to make it, but I'm glad to say that they are going to be with us today. We want to start off, as we usually do, with talking about some of our events that took place prior to us meeting again for the new year. Of course, it was December, the holidays, as Mayor Rogers mentioned, and so we have a video presentation that our media director has put together for us. How many of you were at the huge Christmas toy giveaway and party with the children from the village of Dalton? Can you raise your hand? It was an outstanding event. We had, it seemed like it was like over 1,000 young children running in there. But it was probably about between 200 and 300, maybe 300, and somewhere in that area, and then their parents, and we were able to put a lot together. While we're waiting to get that settled, I want to introduce some of the elected officials that we have here and some of our department heads. Of course, we have our clerk here. Clerk Mary Kay Dugan is with us today. When you see the materials and the minutes and everything updated and the announcements regarding our meetings, that's because of the diligent and hard work that she does each and every day to decipher all of that conversation at our board meetings and other meetings that take place, and we really appreciate everything that she does. We also have way in the back a man that you all know very well. He's our Superintendent of Public Works, Matt Stacy. Give him a round of applause. Okay, and the mayor already introduced many of the people from the mayor's office, of course. Mary Evans, right there, executive assistant. Our volunteer coordinator, Trini Benavidez, who is there with us today. My name is Ashad. I'm the communications director. I try to make sure to get the information out to you. Our media director, Mr. Steve. He is the pictures, the video, and the audio, and all that stuff, and the shots you see on Facebook, all that stuff. It's because of the diligent work of Mr. Steve. So, are we ready with our video? Okay. sights and sounds from the Christmas toy giveaway that we had, all right? Quick announcements. Tuesday, January 16th is the next board meeting. Of course, you know that the Village Hall and administrative offices will be closed on Monday in honor of the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day, a day of service. We want to talk about Thursday, and actually Elizabeth left. She had to go. Okay, so we'll talk about the coat giveaway. We're about to wrap that up. We've been collecting coats for the last couple of months. And so now we're going to actually give those away to some of the children at some of the schools around here. We're going to begin a new program that the mayor is initiating starting in February. February 13th will be the first one. It's called Pray for Dalton. So it's going to be at Faith United Methodist Church on Grant Street, 15015 Grant. So we're going to all come together and pray for the village, as we did in the beginning, as we do before every meeting. Mayor Rogers thought that that was very important to do so. So everyone is invited, everyone who is here within the sound of our voice, and we want you to make sure that you sign up on our email list. Many of you, can I see a show of your hands, how many of you get regular emails from the Village of Dalton about our, okay, so that's most of the people in this room. If you're not getting emails, we want to make sure we get it before you leave. Even if you see the emails and you're pretty much somebody who comes regularly, it's always good to get a reminder. And so sometimes we send reminders for some of these meetings. If you're like most of us, you have many things going on each and every day, and sometimes it just kind of slips your mind. Board meeting slips your mind, we have an event tonight or something. So we want to make sure we do what is required to keep in touch. It's our responsibility to make sure we communicate with you in that way. Okay? I want to give you a tribute to Black History Month. That's going on in February. Mayor, do you want to tell us a little bit about that, or you want to wait until?
No, we're going to.
Okay, we're going to have, okay, Tom Shepard is here to present on that. And then March 24th, mark your calendars. These are all save the dates. You'll be getting more information about this, but we're going to have a Women Entrepreneur and Business Resource Forum. That's going to be at Village Hall. So all of the entrepreneurs that you know, all the women who are interested in business, it just so happens that that is Women's History Month. But, we don't have to have it be Women's History Month to celebrate the accomplishments of women and acknowledge women who do positive works. But in March, that is when we are going to have that forum. It's going to be at the Village Hall. Information will be coming to you about how to register and what kinds of vendors and presenters will be there with us, all right? So we have quite a few speakers today. I think we'll get started. Now, the first few speakers that we have, I'll just go down the line. We have Mr. Mark Ferguson, who is here from the U.S. Small Business Administration. Can you just raise your hand so they can see who you are? Give him a round of applause and welcome him, Dalton style. I mentioned earlier we have Sister Jean O'Croy, IBVM, who is an expert on human trafficking, domestic abuse, and women's rights. Raise your hand, please, so we can all know and see you. Okay, some of the other speakers we have here, of course, I left out an elected official, but we have Mr. Stanley Moore, Commissioner Stanley Moore, who is here with us today. Oh, and I didn't see him. We have President Lester Long here from the Park District. He's here with us. I didn't see him in the back there. Can't forget him. And we've just been joined by our trustee, Trustee Deborah Denton. Hey, how you doing? She made it in out of the cold. And from the Cook County State's Attorney's Office, Juvenile Justice Bureau, Mariam Ahmed. She's over here. And Chief, she's the chief. How do you say it? What is it? Chief? Just the chief. Chief of Juvenile Justice, the Juvenile Justice Bureau, okay? Yes, we have another, and Jodine is going to be here. See, I'm sorry, I don't want to butcher your last name. I don't, Jodine. Bastarash. Jodine Bastarash. She's going to speak also about domestic violence. We have her with us today. Give her a round of applause. Hold your hand up so we can see. We have Mr. Larry Golden, who is here with us from the U.S. Conference on Aging, or the National Conference on Aging. He's with us today. Raise. Okay, absolutely. So all right, so we're gonna start right now with our speakers. It's about 9:05, so we're right on time. We're gonna hear from our commissioner, Commissioner Stanley Moore. Of course, we know he's got a busy schedule like all of our elected officials do, but we definitely wanted to hear from you. So please give him a round of applause. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for allowing me to come out and speak. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Man, isn't it a beautiful day? I was waiting to see who was going to say it was actually beautiful. It was freezing out there today. Hey, I'm Cook County Commissioner of the 4th District. And if you don't know, the 4th District is very big. It includes Lansing, South Holland, Calumet City, Dalton, and Burnham. It also includes 7 city wards, 6th Ward, 7th Ward, 8th Ward, 9th Ward, 10th Ward, 21st Ward, and parts of the 18th Ward. So we have 330,000 residents in the 4th District. So it's extremely large, but I'm trying my best to get everywhere. We had a very tough year, as you know. Cook County has been, everybody ever heard of something called the pop tax? How'd you like that? Didn't like it? Well, let me tell you something. I'm gonna tell you why we supported something like the pop tax. Because what elected officials fail to do is they never come out and explain. And I'm not afraid to take it head on and let you know exactly what is going on. Anybody remember a hospital called Oak Forest Hospital? Anybody remember one called Provident? Well, those aren't hospitals anymore. They've downsized them, they cut programs, and they've made them into clinics. Provident Hospital used to be a 200-bed hospital system, and now it's down to 12 beds. They don't accept ambulances. The emergency room is closed. I mean, in these economic times, everybody believes all we have to do is just cut. But what we're doing is we're cutting our services. We're cutting the services that provide. I have family that is buried at Oak Forest. I don't know if anybody knows this, but when you couldn't afford to bury your loved ones, they took you to Oak Forest. Oak Forest took care of some of the people who deserved it the most, people who couldn't afford the services. So we keep cutting in these economic times, but it's important that we understand why. We have to find revenue, we gotta find resources. This year, and I have good news, and I'm so glad that you introduced this young lady here, as I didn't know you were dealing in domestic violence. I go out and I give these speeches all the time. And sometimes when I'm out giving these speeches, a young lady pulled me to the side and she whispered to me. She said, "I need your help." And I said, "What do you need?" She said, I don't have a place to live because I can't go home. Well, I didn't know who to call. She is a victim of domestic violence. Somebody was abusing her at home, and she was asking for our help and our services. So it's essential not to cut so many different services. There are people out here that are really suffering and need our help. Right now, I'm glad to announce I have $6 million to give away to programs like that. So please apply for our money right now. January is when the applications are coming out. Anybody else know of any social services that are geared towards violence, domestic abuse, or violence in the community? If you are looking for money, Cook County has an application hitting the street this month, January. $6 million worth of money that we're giving away. And let me tell you what's disparaging about this is that we finally have some money to give away because we allocated this in last year's budget. But last year when people applied for it, not much of that money went to my district. And I kept saying, why isn't this money going to my district? Well, they said, people in your community aren't applying for it. Well, we have non-for-profits. And I need you to help me get the message out to non-for-profits like hers that says, they have money for you to apply for. Please apply for it, because I can't stand to see that money going up north or somewhere else. The University of Illinois applied for the anti-violence money. University of Illinois has money. Why you need our $6 million? Let's put it in the local communities, local non-for-profits that are helping people right here on the ground. I'm not going to talk very long. Thank you very much. I'm Stanley Moore. I appreciate you. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's give it up for Commissioner Moore.
Okay, hopefully we'll be able to work that buzz out. So our next speaker then that we will bring forward is Jodine. Okay. Jodine, we'd like to hear from you since Commissioner Moore did a great job of really introducing the topic and the subject. So they're exchanging information. Is everybody doing all right? Everybody's fine?
You know, one of the reasons I asked Ms. Basharesh to come out was that, you know, as we go through Christmas, go through the holidays, we have seen an increase in domestic issues that the police have to respond to. Most of them, practically all of them, do not involve physical confrontation, but it involves arguments and sometimes the displacement of one or both of the parties that are involved with the domestic issue. You know, as you come into the holidays and some of the financial issues that affect some of these families, and they can't afford to buy their children gifts, or they can't afford to, you know, show their loved ones that they really appreciate them, or they want to do something for the holidays. It creates an environment of hostility in some cases, and the police get involved. So I monitor all the police calls that come in on a daily basis, and we've seen an increase in the domestic calls. So I wanted to bring Jodine out this morning to kind of talk about it. And what we're looking to do as we move into 2018 is to create a domestic violence council or committee that can handle some of these things, and we can reach out to the people that can help us, like Jodine, to try to solve those issues and reduce the police involvement. Because one of the big ways that police officers get hurt is in domestic violence issues. The party that calls the police wants the other party removed, and then when the police get there and have to take police action, and sometimes it takes a little aggressive posturing by the police, whether it's handcuffing the person or removing them from the residence, then sometimes the other party that actually called the police to have that person removed winds up getting in a confrontation with the police when the police really wants to take them away and go to, you know, another place, maybe jail or somewhere else, or some cooling off area. So we want to reduce these calls, and if we can put some intervention in place or have someone help the parties that are involved, it will help us reduce our police activity. Jodine?
Thank you very much, Mayor Rogers, for this opportunity this morning. Again, my name is Jodine, and my initiatives are Speak Your Peace Against Domestic Violence and Adore to Empower. Speak Your Peace Against Domestic Violence is basically about bringing awareness to the community, but in non-traditional ways. So that could mean coming out to events such as this. It could mean coming out to extracurricular events. Sometimes, you know, different sports games. Sometimes it's theater, parties, et cetera, et cetera. One of the parties that I do, a social event, is actually called Speak Your Peace. And what I do is the event is done entertainment style, social style. So you think you're coming out to have a good time, but at the same token, there's information there that's bringing awareness. Every one in four woman is affected by domestic violence. And every 9 seconds, someone is affected by domestic violence. Breast cancer, it's every 1 in 8 women, but breast cancer gets more publicity than domestic violence does, unfortunately. And I attribute that to we have been raised in an era where what goes on in our household stays in our household. So we don't talk about it. It's shameful, it's embarrassing. People don't understand. They're quick to put someone down and say, oh, if that was me, I would do this or that. If that was me, this or that, or I would never put up with this or that. And that puts some shame in the next person, and you may not even know what they're going through. You know, we have to be more conscious in the community when it comes to things of this matter. There are four forms of domestic violence. There's physical, there's mental, there's psychological, and there's also financial abuse. And ironically, all of them go hand in hand. As Mayor mentioned, you may not be encountering, or you know, the person may not be encountering the physical, but the emotional is definitely there. So we have to come to a level where we're more understanding, we're empowering, we're lifting individuals up and not putting them down, even if we don't understand it. I get a lot of calls from individuals wanting to know how they can help a loved one. I had a good friend of mine for over 20 years contact me yesterday, and her daughter was missing for 2 days. And prior to that, we had some suspicion that there may be some domestic violence going on because she noticed a change in her behavior. And the number one change that she noticed was isolation. Unfortunately, when she went to her house, because she couldn't get in touch with her after she found out, when she saw that her Facebook page was deleted, her daughter didn't come to the phone initially. She called the police. The police came. She finally came to the door, 6:30 in the morning, fully clothed. She had her jacket on and her hood on, and she kept looking down. So she made her look up, and she put her hood down, and she had a big knot on the side of her head, and she had black eyes. In the midst of that and talking with her, she denied it and said, "I don't have a black eye." And the police officer and the mother's looking directly at her and says, "I'm looking at your black eye, you have a black eye." But she was protecting him because it takes a survivor, the statistics say it's 7 times, well, they'll try 7 times before they leave for good. And it actually could be more than that because, there's a lot that goes unreported. But she's in that denial stage, and it really scared me for her because when you're in that denial stage, you're not going to leave. You're not going to go anywhere. You're going to stay there. And it's going to continue and it's going to escalate until that individual is ready to do something about it. So when you're encountering someone that is dealing with domestic violence, don't tell them to leave. The worst thing that you can do is tell them to leave because when they try to leave, it's like the abuser, whether it's a he or a she, because men experience domestic violence too, they kind of get irate, they get upset, and they kind of respond out of their mind, per se. And death statistics are higher for those who try to leave a domestic violence situation. So that's the number one rule of advice I can give you if you know someone that's going through it, is don't tell them to leave. You have to create a safety plan. You can Google domestic violence safety plans on the internet. You can call domestic violence agencies. What I like to do in response to his question, the commissioner's question, is that I like to give a general phone number, which is 1-800-799-SAFE, because that's the National Domestic Violence Hotline, and they can help you find help in your area, depending on where that individual is located at. So again, if you know someone that's going through it, empower them, lift them up, because their self-esteem is beaten down, basically. They have very, very low self-esteem, and no matter what you try to tell them, how the relationship isn't good, it's not healthy, they're not going to leave until they're ready to leave. And what you have to do is build them back up, because every time that individual says something negative to them, you kind of have to counteract it and say something positive to them. And you also have to be mindful of the children, because the children are growing up in a household seeing that. So if there's anyone in the room that works with children, and if you notice that a child's behavior is, kind of out of whack and is just, he or she is just, very troubled, don't be so quick to attribute it to a bad household or not good parenting, et cetera, because that child may be experiencing or witnessing domestic violence in the household, and now they are a statistic. I know an individual who went through it that was not a statistic, had 4 children that grew up in a household seeing that. And now those children, every last one of them, are statistics. So as he mentioned, my name is Jodine. My initiative is Speak Your Peace Against Domestic Violence. I also started Adore to Empower, which is a support system for survivors, because when you're affiliated with the agencies, you go through support programs, but they only last so long. And sometimes the clients don't even attend the support programs because they're going through a lot at the time. And what I know firsthand with survivors is that after going through the support system or the support groups within the agency, or getting the help that you need through the agency, whether you're in a shelter and you've left or just attending, you need a lifelong support system, because there are going to be trigger moments that are going to come back, and you need someone that you can go to that's going to support you and that's going to be there for you. My name is not only Jodine, but I stand here before you as a mother, a daughter, a grandmother, an aunt, and most importantly, I'm a survivor of domestic violence, endured it for 14 years, so I'm very passionate about this. I do have business cards for you. I plan on staying to the end. If I do have to tip out, because I do have an event here this evening, I have to be back at 6, I will definitely leave some on the table. Thank you so much for your time and listening this morning.
Thank you, Jodine. I'm glad she hit on the point of the children, because every time that the police come to the house and there's children there and there's arguing and fighting back and forth, sometimes the children go in the other room and they're real nervous, and they're wondering actually what's going to happen to one or the other parent. So you have to be aware of the fact that every time there's a domestic issue in the household, the children go through it too. And they try to decide who's right and who's wrong, whether they're going to side with the father or whether they're going to side with the mother. So, you know, if you know of anything, any families that are going through domestic issues, domestic violence, things like that, if you can reach out to Jodine, I'm quite sure she can direct you in the right place or try to get assistance to go into that household. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. And we'll have all their resources available in our office. So if you want to call, we have contacts with all of these individuals who will be here. Okay. Next, of course, we have an event coming up. If there's one thing you know about Mayor Rogers' administration, we're always talking about creating jobs, job creation, bringing business in. So what we're going to do is call forth someone who has a program coming up very soon. Now, we sent it out on Facebook. We let some people know about the event coming up, but we have Linda Hanna, who is here from Women in the Trades. And, you know, as we stated earlier, there's nothing that women can't do. And we're about to have someone speak to us right now about some jobs that are available that traditionally people didn't think about that. But okay, they want me. Okay, I want to announce Trustee Jason House has joined us as well with his wife. You want to give him Ms. Hardy a round of applause. We gave all the elected officials. Okay, so doing Trustee. All right, so. So she's going to tell us a little bit about some of the jobs they have. We have only a few minutes because we're, okay, thank you.
I can talk fast. Good morning. My name is Linda Hanna, and I'm from Chicago Women in Trades. Chicago Women in Trades' goal is to prepare women to apply, test, and successfully get into the construction trades. Last year, we had over 70 women that began working as apprentices in the pipe fitters, the plumbers, the electricians, the carpenters. And we have a program that's a 12-week program, and it's free. On January 17th, Wednesday night at 6 o'clock, we're going to have a big orientation. You can come out. You'll get a chance to meet the apprentice coordinators. Some of the construction companies, such as Walsh Power Construction, will be there. But more importantly, we will have tradeswomen there that will be able to meet and talk with the tradeswomen wannabes. They will have a chance to talk about their good, bad, and ugly, but the goal is to get women to know how to make a decision, how to get into the construction trades, and begin the career path. And so it's something that you can't wait till you see them working in your neighborhood. You've got to get out here, get trained, get prepared to do this. And we do focus on union construction trades. And we also have a welding program which prepares women to go to work in the manufacturing industry. So we're interested in meeting new women. Those of you in this room may not be interested, but I bet everyone in this room knows a young woman who is 2018 and is ready to get started on a new and exciting, well-paid career. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hanna. You have information here, right? Yes. Okay, great. Good, thanks, Linda. And these jobs pay excellent pay, so please try to participate, or if you know anyone that's interested.
And want you to make sure that you know, although Commissioner Moore has to leave us for another engagement, there is still someone who is going to be available here from his office. She's here with us. I'm sorry, what's your name? Tamika is here from his office, so she'll be able to get any information and whatever's going on. Thank you very much for taking time being with us. Okay, so at this point, we're going to call, we have another event coming up on January 31st. It's for individuals who are interested in buying houses. This is a person who you see around at many of the Village of Dalton events. She participates in all of our events. She's a Dalton resident, and she helps people get into houses here in Dalton. We're going to bring forth Brittany Norwood. She's going to speak to us briefly about a program she has coming up.
Good morning. Happy Saturday. I won't stay long. I do want to invite everyone. I passed around some flyers. I would like to invite everyone to our Dalton Homebuyer Seminar of the Year. So our goal is to shop Dalton, live Dalton, move in Dalton. That's our goal. So if you can come to our seminar January 31st, Trustee Jason House will be in the building. So he did assist me with our Dalton's Homebuyer Seminar. And come out, ask questions. We'll give you some real good tips in regards to saving money. We have some tax assist, tips. So come out, any questions. Brittany, I'll be around, so if you have any questions for me, let me know. But we will have free food, free raffles. We'll definitely have a good time. Have a good day.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Brittany. So you already got a lot of information, and we haven't even gotten to our main people yet. So I told you you're going to get a lot of information. So we're going to get started. We told you, it's a new year, and many of you all made a New Year's resolution to start a business or become an entrepreneur or do something that was going to get some more money in your pocket, or perhaps you were motivated by all the money that you spent getting Christmas gifts. So you were a little short this year at the end of the year, and you wanted to find out how to get some more money and pay those credit cards back and things like that. So what we wanted to do, I was with Mayor Rogers some months ago, and we were at a franchise fair, which was put on by Congressman Rush. It was at IIT. And among the speakers there were speakers from, the Women's Small Business Bureau, all the different departments that you have, the Department of Procurement for the City of Chicago. There were so many people there, and you're going to be hearing from many of those people over the next few months at Coffee with the Mayor and other events. But one of them that spoke to us, and he was, he just has so much information. We didn't have enough time to get all the information that he had for us, so we said we wanted to bring him back. We actually, Mayor Rogers wants to actually have a fair, a complete business fair with people who are in small businesses, but we're going to start off by just hearing from Mr. Mark Ferguson, who is the Deputy District Director for the U.S. Small Business Administration, and he's going to give you some valuable information. And as usual, you might not be interested in it, but we got the information so that you could take it to someone who is, and we're also recording this, so anyone who isn't here today can also see it on Channel 4 and Channel 99, and also on YouTube. So I'd like for you all to welcome Mr. Ferguson to speak to us about getting money and starting businesses. We love that.
All right, thank you very, very much. On behalf of our administrator, Linda McMahon, my district director, my direct boss, Robert Bo Steiner, we're pleased to have Mayor Rogers bring us out. We're glad that you were so impressed with us speaking at the franchise fair and talking to people candidly. And that's kind of what I do, and as a minister also, you might have to take the mic from me sometimes. But, I was just kind of like taking down notes and everything. And, when Ashad called me and he said, Mark, I want you to come on out and talk to the folks, I said, okay, that's fine and dandy. Tell me, what is the makeup? How many new businesses do we have out there? How many existing businesses do we have? How many folks want to go into business? And he said, well, it's not that kind of thing, Mark, some people come and they'll take things back and this and that. And I said, okay, I'm coming out. I'm going to talk to each and every one of you and try to address you personally. What I do want to try to establish with you is that we are a United States Small Business Administration. We are part of the President's Cabinet. All politics being aside, there's one thing that we do come with, and that's a servant leader's heart. We're here to help you. We're here to serve you. Now, I was taking some notes down in domestic abuse, women in trade, human trafficking, housing. There was a term that Ms. Hannah brought up, the wannabes. We help all those folks. And one of the things that I know that I've talked to Mr. Mayor about, Mayor Rogers and Ashad about, was doing maybe a YES conference, or we'd do a big business conference where we can go ahead and influence our young people, making young entrepreneurs out of them. But you know what? For those of you out there that said, yeah, that's a good idea, but what you got for me? Well, we also have a program for Encore entrepreneurs who are over 50, who may have now retired, okay? And with this possibility that with the young people, they got all the energy, right? And all us older people, I'll be 60 next month, okay? So for all us older ones, we have the wisdom, and we can drive businesses here in Dalton. And I'm just thrilled because I told the mayor, I told Ashad when I first met him, I said, I've been in Dalton several times, been on your TV several times. Some folks have called me, but I've never gotten this kind of exposure. So I think that you need to commend the mayor and his team for bringing us out. Okay, so let me get started. I'm not going to take too much of your time. I mean, I've been with the administration now for 25 years. I've been lending money for 37 years. And am I clicking slides or are you clicking slides? Or, okay, if we can go to a slide. What we do, we're going to talk about what we do, SBA programs, tools, and tips. Do you want me to take the clicker, or you tell me what to do and hit that button right there. And if I screw up, you'll come to my rescue, right? Because I did say I'm a little older. I didn't say I was technically proficient with today's technology, okay? All right. We've been around since 1953. And since 1953, we've been doing pretty good. We help people get into business, startups, how to grow their businesses. We do different programs. How do we do them? We do them through lending, contracting, and counseling. I've got a few resource guides. Now, I apologize to you only because we are in a transition year. You know, we have a new president. And sometimes when you're transitioning, new people come in very, very slowly. We are technically out of guides, but because I saw a show of hands on who gets newsletters, I know a lot of you are technically proficient, and you can always go to our website, www.sba.gov/il, to go ahead and get your own resource guide. What's great about the resource guide, it's like almost having a manual right there. As I mentioned, we're in capital counseling, capital contracting. We also do disaster lending, which we've been very, very busy with the different hurricanes in Houston, Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands, and let's not us forget and pray for the folks in California that have all these fires going on. That's a big disaster going on too. We have our counseling hub is SCORE. Many of you may not know of SCORE, but SCORE used to be our senior core of retired executives. But then they started opening it up. They threw the old people out. No, they didn't. I'm just playing. But they started considering newer folks, the young folks that come in with the millennials and everybody doing business off their laptops and their phones and et cetera. So what they do is that they actually volunteer, they go out, they mentor new businesses, they mentor old businesses to grow and take them to the next level. Why? I'm gonna tell you why. Once upon a time, when I joined the agency 25 years ago, after I sold my mortgage company, there was about 100 people. Now we're down to about 21. And what they've done is that they've taken all the processing away from us, and now we're more marketing oriented, but we need help. And the way we get our help is through SCORE. They're one of the folks that we work with. They do workshops, they have resource centers for a moderate fee or no fee. How about that? We have the Small Business Development Center Network, which I personally am a project officer for here in Illinois. We have 26 of them around the state. We have many, many small business development centers, or what we call SBDCs, that are around that can help you get into business, grow your business. They also, like SCORE, provide direct one-on-one counseling. They also do mass training programs, et cetera. Counseling, you know, we're looking at full service network partners. Now, SCORE and SBDC are funded partners, meaning that SBA pays them, helps them with their budget. But we also have non-funded partners, which a lot of times are municipalities such as your own, chambers of commerce. We'll work with everybody. I want everybody to understand these 3 C's are counseling, capital access, and contracting for the SBA. But our 3 C's in spirit are collaboration, cooperation, and communication. Because what we're trying to do, we learned a long time ago, when the tide comes in, it lifts up every boat, whether it's a dinghy, a rowboat, a battleship, a yacht. Everybody comes to the top if we can help. We had the Illinois Business Development Centers. I will make this available to the mayor's office in case you want to get copies, since we're all computer literate, and you can go ahead and you can hit these different links that we have. But like I said, one-on-one workshops, entrepreneur training programs. I like, people say, Mark, man, you do so much, you work real, real hard. And I said, I never worked a day in my life. And they say, well, how's that? You get up every morning to the alarm clock warning, take the 8:15 into the city, right? No, but that's work. I'm doing exactly what I want to do, and that is to be of service to you. And as the deputy, I've implied that with all my staff. You see, leadership isn't about having people serve you. It's about you serving the people. And that's what you got here with the mayor. That's what you have here with all these speakers here. They're coming out here and they're pouring out these programs for you to take advantage. You see, growth is inevitable. I should say change is inevitable. Growth is optional, okay? Only you can decide what you're going to do next. I was going to ask everybody, how you doing today? And I wanted to hear the response, better than yesterday. But that's the way we got to look at life, right? We got cohort training programs. We have emerging leaders. You got Goldman Sachs. You got Chicago anchoring programs. We got other resource partners. Those of you who do not know how to form your business or go into business, we have pro bono services with John Marshall, the Law Project, DePaul, Chicago Family Business Council at DePaul. We got a variety of different resource partners. Like I said, communication, collaboration, cooperation. I can't do it myself. My team can't do it all by themselves. So we do it together. We win together. How many of you like winning? I love to win. I can accept defeat, but I hate to lose. I know what I told you what I was before in my other life too, but I hate to lose. I love winning. I love walking in a certain way. Market share, benchmarking, these are some of the counseling services that you will get from SCORE, IBIS World, MindView, Profit Mastery. These are all different resource partners that we partner with to help you. SBA tools, you can go there. We're going to tell you how to do SBA plans, right? How many of you plan for anything? Yeah, you say, you know what? I only got half the hands. You know why? Because, when you do planning, you have to take a good look at yourself, right? You got to do a SWOT analysis on yourself, right? You got to you can't play, right? You got to know what your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and your threats are, right? Well, let me tell you something. Anything you do, plan, predetermine your course of action, lay out your goals and objectives, adjust your priorities, and notify key personnel. If you're in business, you got to plan ahead, right? Acknowledge that the key personnel got the message, head into action, expect delays, acknowledge all the good things, and do a daily review. See, in essence, when you're in business, and in anything that you do, you're a project manager. You say, no, I don't have a project manager mentality. Yeah, you do, because see, if you know where you are today, where you're going tomorrow, how you're going to get there, know when you've been there, and you can determine whether you want to do it again, yeah, you're a project manager. You just didn't know about it. How many of you are in business right now? Okay, how many want to go into business? How many of you have ever solved a problem for a friend or family circle member or someone, and they actually appreciated what you did and gave you a gift or maybe money? How many have done that? How many of you thought that would be a business? Yeah. See, if you solve someone's problem and they give you money, guess what? You're in business, you just didn't know it. See? Okay. You got other avenues such as census.gov, businessusa.gov. These are all just resource tools. Let me go a little bit further. For those of you that want to go into exporting, we have what we call international trade centers at all our small business development centers. These folks are going to help you take your product or your service and export them across the oceans to wherever you need to put them. And these are some of the folks that we work with. Export, the USIAC is the Export Assistance Center. We got Export Illinois, which is with the state. Like I said, we work with everyone. Capital Access. How many of you know SBA lends money? No, we don't lend money. No. That was a trick question. I'm sorry. I shouldn't be doing that kind of stuff. Let me tell you something. We don't lend the money, but you know what we do? We guarantee the money against default. We try to get lenders to do business with you. You know, you might have a great idea, but you may not have all the collateral. You may not have all the cash flow. So in order to entice lenders to do business with you, what we will do is we'll guarantee up to 75 cents on the dollar in the event that you default on it. Not that we expect you to fail, because I never made a bad loan when I made it, you know? But some things happen, changes happen. Change is inevitable, growth is optional. Isn't that what I said? So what we do is we have a variety of loan programs. We go through SBA guaranteed banks. Now again, if you go to SBA, www.gov/IL, you can see some of our preferred lenders. But again, we got programs for just about everything. I think I heard real estate and housing. And you know, I like flipping houses on the side myself, you know, but I can't use this line of credit that we have. But do you know we got a builder's line of credit that you can go out and build a piece of property, whether it's commercial, residential, or mixed use from the ground up, or rehab it and sell it within 18 months? It goes up to $5 million. You think you can build Dalton with that? Can you build Dalton with that? Yeah, you can build Dalton with that. If you told me no, I'd say, oh, somebody's got to go to the shrink and it isn't me. Talk to the lender about whether a 7A loan is right for your business. I'm going to tell you now, as a ex-banker, I wouldn't be out here with a 7 without lending money under SBA or 7A guarantee. I just won't do it. I wouldn't do it. Why? Because I'm chicken. I don't profess to know everything, but I do profess to be exacting and try to give you the best service possible. We've got financing loans. We got what we call, some of our loans are not guarantee loans. This particular loan, which is called the 504 loan, is based on economic development. In this instance, the bank will take out 50% of a project. We'll take out 40% of the project by underwriting a bond debenture. You come up with 10%. Now, how many of you have ever bought a piece of property or know someone that has bought a piece of property with a mortgage of 20 years with only 10% down? Oh, so y'all got friends in high places. Okay, I see. All right, because that's not the standard. Standard is usually a 5-year call on a 15-year amortization where they change the rate every 5 years, so you had a sword of Damocles hanging over your head. So how can you plan for your growth when you got the sword of Damocles hanging over your head? Doesn't work. This is one of our loans, and I like that. One thing about that is that with my 40% portion of that, 60% or $60,000 worth the loan proceeds is to either create or retain a job. Now, that's something I know Dalton can use. That is pure economic development, Mr. Mayor. We got intermediary lenders. Some of us don't need $5 million. A lot of us only need maybe about 50 G's, 10 G's, $5,000, things like that. But again, we can go ahead and lend on that, and you can go ahead and do it for working capital, equipment. With the microloan program, you can't do lines of credit, but with our express program, you can. Contracting. How many of you want to do business with the government? Why, you don't think we pay? I didn't say Illinois. I said federal government. Now, I know this is going on TV. I may get whacked on that one, but, you know, I know who I'm working with, you know. I'll take my chances, but, you know. Well, the government is obligated to pay you within 30 days, okay? But who is the biggest buyer of goods and services in the world? Government, who's government? Cuban government? Who government? What government? Our government? Federal government? Yes, we spend $550 billion a year on goods and services. 23% of that is set aside for small businesses. Who's small businesses? Me, right? That's a lot of cheese. You will never, ever, ever have to go home and say, who moved my cheese, right? Because I just told you where your cheese was if you want to do business with the federal government, right? Right? Contracting assistance. Some of us may say, well, Mark, that's easier said than done. But let me tell you something. If you can prove yourself to be economically or socially disadvantaged, we've got a program for you. We call it the 8A program. It is a business development program. It's for 9 years. And what's great about that, we've got what we call business opportunity specialists that will work with you through the program and help you get contracts as well as develop your businesses and take you to the next level. For those of you who are looking to go from, say, $400,000 to $1 million or $5 million. We have a mentor protege program, which helps. I mean, everybody needs a mentor, right? I don't care what anybody says in this room. What you are today was based on the decisions you made yesterday, but you did have a model or a mentor, okay? That is without debate. Well, we do this very, very same thing here. We partner with large and small businesses to help you get to where you want to go. Everybody like that? Okay, all right. I'm not hearing a whole lot of applause, but then, you know, I lead with humility and confidence, okay? I see. You know what? That's what I say a lot of times when I'm doing panels, and I tell my students, if I don't have anything to say, other people on the panel don't have anything to say, you did a fantastic job. Just quietly walk off the stage. Oh, okay, we got the WASB. This here, 5% wide procurement. You know that 23% I told you about? At least 5% of government contracts of that $550 billion set aside for women business, women-owned businesses. So my young lady that was women in trade, got something for you. If you're not in the 8A program and you're a hub zone, you're in a hub zone, you'll get 3% of the contracts are set aside for that. Hub zone is underutilized business zone, and all you have to do is hire so many people, at least 33% of the people or 30% of the people have to come from a hub zone area, and you can qualify for a lot of these government contracts. Now, this is where we are. Everybody know where Northwest Station is? How many people know where Social Security is with the back column? All right, I'm in that big, blue, ominous building. Thank you. I'm in that big, blue, ominous building that is just east of there. We're up on the 11th floor. I'm there a lot because, you know, primarily as one of the chief operating officers, some of my duties are there. We got 9 area SBDCs. You can reach them. We've got Chicagoland Chamber, Greater Englewood, ICNC, University of Illinois, the Women's Business Development Center down at 8 South Michigan, Bethel New Life. We've got a lot of different SBDCs all around. A lot of these SBDCs house our PTACs, which is our procurement technical assistance providers. I did not talk about a PTAC, but let's just say two. You get in the 8A program and you need to know the ins and outs on a particular contract. You can go to a PTAC or a person there that is a counselor that will go ahead and advise you and help you dot your I's and cross your T's to make sure that that contract that you're going to submit to the government is ironclad and it's good to go. That's very important. We have veterans. Veterans, where are my veterans? We got something for our veterans. We got what we call the Veteran Business Opportunity Centers. These are programs designed for veterans who want to go into business. You know, and it doesn't mean just the most recent veterans. We go all the way back. We got love for our veterans, okay? They paid a service to us, we're going to pay a service to them. And these are just some other sites. Like I said, my website is www.sba.gov, but if you slash it with tools, go to Resource Center, we can get you everything that you need. Now, that is my lead business economic development specialist. She runs what we call the Economic Development Division. Carol is excellent, but here's the deal. I walk in excellence. I expect the team walk in excellence. As I hold them accountable to me, I hold myself accountable to them. Therefore, there's no, stepping or, oh, he's the boss and all that. No, that doesn't exist with us. What our ultimate mission is to do is to create more jobs out here, raise the roof for every community, and try to endow everybody with the spirit of entrepreneurism. Some people don't want to be a leader. I get that. Let me get this quote right. George Bernard Shaw says 2% of us think, 3% of us think we think, 95% of us rather be dead than think. I don't think I'm talking to any deadheads here. And I don't think I'm talking to any non-thinking or pretending people to think, because you came out here in the cold and you came out here to make a difference, right? To hear what it is that you want to do, right? Well, I'm going to tell you, take in all this information. I have my cards up here. I am the deputy. I am like the COO, okay, of the entire state of Illinois. You call my office, you don't get the customer service, or you get a rude answer, you call me. Don't say anything, just say, Mark. And don't be malicious either, though. Let's do this fairly, because I happen to think that I got the best team in the world, okay? But truthfully, call me up and say, Mark, this didn't quite go right with your office. And, I saw you out here on January 13th at the Dorchester talking on behalf of the mayor at the coffee break, and everything that you said didn't happen. Well, I need to know. Because if I don't know, then there's no doctrine, no reproof, no correction, okay? So I need to know. And I will do my best to correct it. As I mentioned before, we are here to be of service to you. That's why we are here. You pay our wages. We know that. But we have a servant's heart, and we lead with confidence and humility. We know who we are, we know whose we are, we know where we want to go, and we know where we can take you if you go ahead and make that first step and just give us a call. So with that, I'm going to wrap it up and give the mic back to Ashad. Thank you.
Mark, hold that microphone. Thanks for the great presentation, but I got some questions I'd like to ask.
Yes, sir.
Does credit play a part in someone applying for a SBA loan to get started in business?
Credit, Mr. Mayor, credit plays a part in everything. And I think I know what you're leaning at, because after 37 years of doing this kind of thing, we do have the 5 C's of credit. And, everybody has a story in the naked city, right? What you want to do is make sure that when you get the resource guide, we had the 5 C's of credit, where we make sure that you had a capacity to repay the loan, conditions are right for the loan, okay? That you have enough collateral. If you don't have enough collateral, then it's SBA guarantee, right? Okay? But above all, your credit is a reflection of your character. Now, if you go ahead and you got that car that is a lemon, and you told your wife or you told your husband, it'll be a cold day and before I pay those guys back because they sold me a lemon, now you got to attack that a different way, because that goes on your credit bureau, and that's a reflection of your character. And people who don't want to be bothered with your story from the naked city, what will happen is that they'll pay you no mind and they'll deny you the loan. But as they have their 5 C's in order, they can, not just SBA loans, but any loan, folks, any loan, housing, cars, installment loans, home improvement loans, any loan. You have to have your 5 C's in order, okay?
Okay, will the SBA approve a loan for a business and a home?
Yes, oh yeah, you know, let me tell you something, folks. When I got to the SBA and left banking and the mortgage banking world and commercial banking, I got to the SBA, I had made several loans with the SBA guarantee. When I got there, can you imagine a little boy walking into a new place and going, whoa, I didn't know they did all of this. Oh yes, we will do home-based businesses. Home-based businesses, and Mr. Mayor, if you need a seminar for that, I've got a team to come out there and talk about the home-based businesses just for your constituents.
Okay, great. What's the realistic approval rate, and how long does it take?
I'd like to say 100%. Okay, if you said what's a realistic failure rate, I'd say it's about 5%, 5 to 10%. Approval rates, folks, you know, because I'm telling you what the SBA program looks like. We rely on our bankers. Our bankers have personalities, much like your family does and other folks. It's up to you to find the right person to climb in bed with. We can't endorse lenders, okay? So you got to do that footwork. But if you go to our webpage, you'll find all these lenders who do business with us all the time, all the time.
Okay.
Okay?
The reason Mark is here, I went to a mayor's conference in Washington, D.C., and coming back on the plane, I sat next to Congressman Rush. And Congressman Rush mentioned the fact that they were putting this SBA program on. And I thought that what better program to bring to Dalton because of our unemployment statistics. And, you know, not everyone can build a building or have a place up on Sibley Boulevard to open up as a business. So I thought with looking at our census reports and where we are with businesses and unemployment here, that we can actually have the SBA come in, give seminars, and have people start businesses in their home and or businesses here in the village of Dalton. And what Mark does not know is that he's going to be out here an awful lot. And or his people are going to be out here an awful lot. Because we plan on setting up a satellite office here to have businesses to be able to get started in the village of Dalton with the assistance of the SBA. So thank you, Mark.
Mr. Mayor, we'll take you up on that offer too.
And we've got plenty of room in the village hall. But these are some of the things we want to try to help in assisting businesses come to Dalton. And our population is getting is aging. You know, look at our statistics from the census. You know, in the next 8 to 10 years, we're going to have a huge population of people that are over 65 years old. So to help supplement them with whether Social Security or pension plans, help supplement them. And you mentioned the fact that the assistance program for the people over that are retiring.
Encore Entrepreneur Program,
Yes.
as well as the YES program, the Young Entrepreneurs.
Yes, and maybe some of our residents can actually go into business to afford to stay in their homes and pay the property taxes and live a better quality of life. So thank you, Mark.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for having me.
That was a great job. And Carol Harris, this one who he mentioned, she's going to be with us on March 24th for the Women's Entrepreneur Program. So it's more where that came from, and we'll be giving you the information. All right? So he's going to be here afterwards. So after we all wrap up and everything is finished, you're still going to be able to talk to them and give them or ask any questions that you might have. All right? We're going to go immediately to our next presenter. We have Sister Jean O'Croy, IBVM, who is an educator and presenter on human trafficking. Her passion is to raise awareness of this evil. And over the past 13 years, she has presented this new slavery to a variety of age groups. She will open your eyes to what could be happening in your neighborhood or to what you would rather ignore. You know, this is very important, you know, as we talk about this. You know, we have a high school, which is Thornridge, which is our neighborhood high school. And, you know, I just want to just real quick just give an intro on this. High school is already tough, right? You know, you got the peer pressure, you got all these other things going on. But sometimes you don't realize some of the challenges that some of these people are facing. Mayor Rogers speaks at the schools and interacts. Elizabeth Scott, the Chief of Staff, Mayor's Chief of Staff, is very active over at the high school. We have some other programs that are going to be going on there. This is something, you know, you have to have a holistic approach to everything that's going on, not only with our elders, but the middle-aged people who are entrepreneurs, and then even the teenagers. That's how you create a community, you know. And yes, sir.
And one of the reasons that, can I call you Gene? Gene is here today is the fact that human trafficking happens all over. Don't think it just happens in communities that are middle income or lower income. It's happening in the wealthy communities. And Gene is here because I saw where 2 of our residents, young residents, were arrested for human trafficking. And we wanted to let the residents know that it's happening. It can happen to your daughter, your granddaughter. They're so easily swept up in this. You know, they're here today. Tomorrow you don't see them. We got Miriam here from the Juvenile Justice Center. She can, you know, elaborate on it a little bit. But we need to be aware of the things that are happening in our community. And so Jean is here to let us know that, and it's not happening on a great level in our community, but it has happened. And Jean is here to let us know some of the things to look for.
All right. Give her a round of applause, everybody.
First of all, thank you much for inviting me. Yes, the issue of human trafficking is major. I have PowerPoints, but I was told to keep it somewhat short, and I want to have a few minutes for questions because I think that's when the real information comes out. Human trafficking is worldwide, and the new term for it is human slavery. Slavery. 20.9 million folks are in slavery in our world today. Approximately 20% of those are children. That means they're under 18 years of age. It's an international crime, but it also exists in every one of the 50 states. And it exists in our own communities. As the mayor mentioned, there were twin brothers here, it's the same case in 2011, that were convicted of human trafficking. 2015 in Dalton, there was a man convicted of human trafficking, taking folks from here across the state line to Indiana. It's happened in Oak Lawn. You know, it's happened in Naperville, in Wheaton. Places where you wouldn't think it would be happening. It's happening, folks. And we have to keep our eyes wide open. There are basically 2 major kinds of human trafficking in the states. That's commercial sex trafficking, as well as labor trafficking. Commercial sex, as we all know, is prostitution. It's also escort services. I call it the high-end prostitution. Anything that happens in massage parlors, nail spas, sleazy, you might say, restaurants as such, or bars, or whatever it might take place. That's where it usually takes place. Also, in labor trafficking, it's in construction, domestic servitude. You get guys and gals who are peddling on the streets. I never thought of that before. So I used to live near the downtown area at Roosevelt and Loomis last year. And I remember getting off 290. And every day that I got off of 290, which is daily, there were the fellows there trying to get money. At the beginning, it just annoyed me. And then I thought, what the heck is really going on? And I still don't know. But we also have restaurants. I can tell you a case of folks that were brought over from China. Now, this is international trafficking. But they opened, another Chinese family opened a restaurant here, and these guys were put into trafficking. They slept in the basement. They did everything. They prepared the food, they cleaned the place, 18 hours a day, until someone said, who went there, knew something was happening and called information, the police, and they came in and raided the place. What is it? What is human trafficking? It's the transporting, the transferring, the harboring an individual by force, by gunpoint, taking a knife against someone, kidnapping them. I've worked with a young man who's now an adult, who was kidnapped from Mexico. He was probably one of the street kids at the time, from what he has told me. But at 8 years of age, he was brought here to the United States. He was put into sex trafficking. As a teenager, he was given hormone shots. He thought he was getting vitamin shots, until one day he said, "Sister, I was developing breasts." And he was also put into labor trafficking. Those are the things that kids have to face. He's never back home. He doesn't know if his family exists anymore. But he's living here in Chicago now. He's an adult. He's got a job. He's learned English. He's trying to get his green card. That was force. And I have no proof of this. But I believe those two little girls that almost 11 years ago were abducted from the southeast side of Chicago. Mother was at work. They went out for candy. As soon as I heard that and they could never be found, I said, I bet they're gone to another state or another country. There's no way of finding out. I have no proof of that, but that's my gut feeling. That's force. Fraud. Look at the internet and see how many ads are in there for some types of work, or the newspapers. People apply for them, and then they're taken into some other type of work, such as prostitution or labor trafficking. Another international case was brought from the Philippines. She finished her education, answered a response to do some type of work here. Oh, the company said they would love her, just love her. They would pay for everything. She arrived in LA airport, was picked up and put into a brothel immediately. She was there for 3 years until she got out on her own. This woman, Ima Matul, was part of President Obama's committee working on human trafficking. She's the head of the survivors now, situated out in LA. That's fraud. Coercion. Coercion. Kids in high school luring and trafficking their own classmates. It happens. It happens. Case. Middle, upper class. Student. Came to school, saw that the kid next to her had a lovely outfit on and said, "Where'd you get that? Haven't seen anything like that on you." "Oh, I got a job. I got a job." "Oh," she said. "Where?" And she said, "I'll tell you later." A few weeks later, the kid with the nice outfit on said to her, "Do you want a job too?" Guess what? She met that night. She was lured by her own classmates into prostitution. But there was also coercion in that. And the coercion was, if you don't do this, I will kill your family, I will burn your house down, I will do whatever they wanted. So you get caught into that. Force, fraud, coercion. For what purpose? I just put it in one word: absolute greed. They're making money. It's a $32 billion industry today. And I don't think that's the bottom line anymore. I think it's more. That's what they did several years ago. That's what they did several years ago. Who are trafficked? Men, women, children. Ages 4, age 75. It's unusual when you get up into my years that you say you would be trafficked, but those are usually into labor trafficking. A year ago, last December, I was called by Heartland Alliance. Could you tell me someplace? We have a 75-year-old Hispanic man. We have no place to put him. He only speaks English. He had been caught in labor trafficking for years. I tried all over the city trying to find a place. He was willing to sleep in a basement. So I said to Heartland, I don't have any. That's the hard part, when you say, I can't find any place. The other was a 54-year-old woman. Again, she had been in prostitution and put into labor trafficking. Again, Hispanic. Again, I could not find the place for the woman. So those are the main things. There are people who are gays and lesbians, transgender, migrants, refugees, all can be victims of trafficking. They are the most vulnerable sometimes, depending upon their economic bracket. Those that don't have money, those that don't have education, it's more possible. However, it doesn't stop there. You know, it doesn't stop there. Those who do have money get caught into this as well. So it just happens to everyone, but predominantly to the lower income. It happens in Chicago. I was out one night with Brenda Myers-Powell. I don't know if you know her, but she was a survivor of human trafficking that lives not too far from here. I was out with her, and we were on the west side of Chicago, and just looking for folks that you thought might be out on the street and they're going to have problems. And we found a young woman that had been out there about a month earlier who was well kept, walking down the street, Roosevelt Road. And we found her that night. She was totally drugged, totally a mess, had been trafficked, got her into the van. These are folks that are out there. They're all different types of cases. We brought her to a hospital, but I don't think anything happened. I'm sure she got herself out within a short time because she was over age for that. And the most importantly, with prostitution trafficking, is that the young girl is a virgin. They pay more money for her because she's clean. She hasn't been touched. Realize in trafficking for prostitution, they can be sold and resold and resold. And if they hit a certain age, they are so sick because they have so many diseases, there's not much else that can be done with them. They die early as well. This is not an easy topic to talk about. It's a heavy topic on a Saturday morning, and the sun is out even though it's not cold. So anyway, how are people recruited? I put this outline myself because I would be chatting all over the place. Mainly, let's say there's a variety of ways. Kidnapping is one way. Bus terminals, runaways, anywhere between 12 and 14 years of age, they are caught into some form of trafficking, usually within 24 to 72 hours. 24 to 72 hours. Some nice person says, geez, you look like you're hungry today. They might be sitting in a bus terminal. And the kid says, yeah. Would you like McDonald's? It's right down the street. I'll take you down there for some food. And you know what happens after that? They have the food and then they're gone. Family members can be traffickers. Neighbors are traffickers. The main source of trafficking in our world today, particularly for teens, is the internet. The internet. Kids are caught all ages. If there's no one watching what they're doing, they're just going to go out and visit someone who invites them someday. And that's the end of the child. Years ago, Rescue and Restore was in Illinois, and they lost the funding. I was part of that then. But folks came. 5 folks came from Russia, visited New York, Chicago, and they were heading to LA. And the main interest was, how can we stop the trafficking on the internet? We're losing all our teens. So this is a reality that needs to be looked at. Traffickers fit no profile. They are mom and pop operations. Mom and pop operation. Quickly, there was a gal in Berwyn or Cicero a couple years ago. It was in the newspaper as well. She lived there for some time. People knew her in the neighborhood. She fixed up her basement. She got girls in, lured them in. She was a trafficker. She was actually what you call the pimp. But she was making money off of these kids until someone in the neighborhood did something about it. Another case was a guy from Minnesota, husband and wife and a child. The trafficker was the husband. He trafficked his wife to Milwaukee, to Chicago, to Indiana, to Detroit every weekend, and was to bring back X number of dollars. And the coercion, if you don't do it, I'll kill our baby. Now, what mother is not going to do anything to keep her child alive? She would die before the child. Fortunately, well, the woman had enough guts and courage to call the police in Chicago one day, and they took care of making the proper contacts, etc. So these are not what you would call the types of people you want to be around. Owners of small businesses are trafficking. Organized crime throughout our world, all that. And then we mentioned, why do people stay in trafficking? Fear. Fear keeps them there. What, especially if they're from another country. What's going to happen to me? Will I be put out of the country? I don't know the language. I have no contacts. Where would I go? Sort of like domestic abuse. When you get caught in that, I had my cousin caught in domestic abuse. I can make reference to that. Took her a long time to get out. But the same things happen with victims of human trafficking. Same exact thing. No place to go. Kids here, they get out if they can get out. I had a woman that was trafficked. You know, sometimes the traffickers tattoo them, either with the trafficker's name, or they'll use a barcode sometimes. One of the first speakers I had on human trafficking, named Veronica, she was put into trafficking by her mother, which is common, which is not unusual. She's put into trafficking by her mother, and she tried to get out numerous times. She was in Milwaukee, with her trafficker, where she had been trafficked. She had been trafficked from the East Coast to Minnesota to work. And her trafficker actually was in a fight, and he got shot to death. She said, that was the first time in my life I was free. I wasn't being watched. I wasn't being controlled. I was on my own. But let me just say that when folks get out of human trafficking, they have no money. They have no place to go. In the state of Illinois, there are approximately 18 beds for victims of human trafficking. Unreal. Unreal. Homeless shelters can take them, but they're usually filled, as we all know. But that's the biggest thing, is children's trafficking. I was with a private detective the other day who works with children of human trafficking. I said, that's fine. But when you pick a child up, where do you bring them? DCFS is not a place where you want to bring kids who have been trafficked. Not the best of places. There's one house in Oak Park, Promise, it's called, the Promise Program, put on by Salvation Army. Salvation Army has a Stop It program, which is about trafficking. It's excellent. This one, the girls that are in there are pretty much not trafficked. They've been in DCFS, so they go in and they're coming out. They're not getting the help they need. And a victim of trafficking, whether they're 4 years of age, 75 years of age, they need special types of counseling. Each type of crime needs something special. How many here have cell phones? I should ask, how many don't have a cell phone? That's more to the point. Do you know that there's a little mineral in our cell phones that I can't go without anymore, my cell phone? But there's a little mineral in that cell phone. And without that mineral, the cell phones wouldn't work properly. It's mined by children in Africa who are 6 to 7 years old. We might say that trafficking is out there, and we're not the traffickers. In many ways, that's very true. But the real thing is we are all traffickers in some part. And I'm going to give you a paper to take a look at. Why? Because, where was your clothes that you're wearing today? Or the boots you might have on? The jewelry, the car that you drive, the food that you eat, the food that's over here. Every place has people in our world are making the things that we purchase. And many of these places where we purchase things are using victims of trafficking, the cheap labor, again. I'll just sort of end this, and I would just want to say one thing. One clear fact about domestic abuse and trafficking is this is a real distinction. A trafficker makes money off of the woman, the girl, the guy. Where in domestic abuse, they're not making money. That's the clearest. Otherwise, everything else on the domestic abuse wheel is exactly the same. Isolation, physical, mental, emotional abuse, all that. But the difference is the trafficker is like the broker. He keeps it going. He keeps it going. I have one other paper I'm going to give you, and it's what you can do. On there, it says something about slavery footprint. And if you do that on the internet, it takes about 20 minutes. It's excellent. They'll tell you how many slaves you use each day. I was shocked at my own. It was like 30-some slaves. Oh, my God. But it's something to give you an idea. It's here. The big issue is here. And we need to keep our eyes open in your neighborhood, in your families, in the schools in particular. Teens at malls, prime places to get kids. Anyone have a quick question?
I got a question.
Sure.
And we're going to move this along. This is Sister Jean from the Institute of Blessed Virgin Mary. She has a passion for human trafficking. She's a paid speaker that goes all around the country in speaking. But what are some of the signals that you could possibly pick up from teenage girls that are ultimately kidnapped? The ones that are in high school. Are there any signals that the parents can actually see prior to them getting involved in some of these human trafficking organizations?
Really changing of behaviors. If they were alive, vivacious, and all of a sudden they become sullen, quiet, that's a signal. Something is good. The normal signals that would happen if something else was going on in their life are pretty much the major signals that you would have in trafficking. The kid's behavior changing, or they don't want you to see anything. They don't even come home at night, or they're doing drugs. Drugs is just a normal part of trafficking, just because it keeps the individual into the system of trafficking, you might say. Without it, they could not stay there.
Great. Thank you very much, Sister Jean. And you have some information that if anyone's interested?
They have two papers they were given already, and then I have another paper, and I'm going to put it on the table over there. They can pick it up on what you can do to help or be aware of human trafficking.
Thank you. Our next, I don't think she knew she was going to speak, but since she's here, I'm going to have her say a few words. Miriam Ahmad is the chief at the Cook County State's Attorney's Juvenile Justice Center. She can tell you a little bit about what they do and her role in the State's Attorney's Office.
Thank you, Mayor Rogers. Good morning, everyone. Last year, when State's Attorney Fox was elected, she talked about the importance of connecting with the people that we represent. And so I'm here today in that spirit. I'm the chief of the State's Attorney's Juvenile Justice Bureau. And one of the things I want to point out is when an assistant state's attorney steps into the courtroom, that state's attorney does not say, for example, Mariam Ahmed for the state. When I step into court and when the prosecutors that I supervise step into court before a judge, we say for the people, because that's who we represent. So I'm here today as your lawyer, or as one of your lawyers, and to underscore the importance of you knowing what your lawyers are doing on behalf of you. As the chief of the Juvenile Justice Bureau, I supervise approximately 100 prosecutors. My bureau is one of 6 major bureaus in the State's Attorney's Office, all representing a variety of interests for all of you. My bureau has 2 divisions. The first division is the Child Protection Division. We represent the interests of abused, neglected, and dependent children in Cook County. Most people are familiar with what it means to be abused or neglected, but a dependent child is a child that the parent cannot care for no reason of their own, meaning the child may have major medical issues or major mental health issues that the parent cannot adequately care for the child. So we represent children like that. Another type of dependent child is a child who's been abandoned by their family. So we represent abused, neglected, dependent children. The other part of my division represents the people of Cook County who have been victims of crime committed by juveniles. But I want to talk a little bit about that, particularly because we are all concerned about the young people in our community. It used to be that when individuals came before the criminal justice system, that often prosecutors who were disconnected from the people they represented relied on one particular tool, and that tool was the hammer. But prosecutors are like any good carpenter or tradesperson. Prosecutors have a very large toolbox with many different options of resolving crime that we weren't using. And so under State's Attorney Fox's leadership, I'm here to tell you that we have changed how we operate as prosecutors on behalf of our client, that being you. So for example, one of the things that we do in juvenile court is for minor offenders, we don't treat them the way that you would treat a major offender. And by a minor offender, I mean someone who is either a new offender or someone who does not have a major background. What we do is we work to find through juvenile probation, social services, and programs to engage those minors to prevent them from reoffending. We also listen to the people who come into court, the victims, the people from the community that have been impacted, and seek their input as to what they wish to see in regard to justice. Because you cannot represent individuals and not speak to them about what they desire. And as you can look across this room right now, you see that Cook County is comprised of diverse people with diverse interests. And so when we represent our community in court, we have to bring your diverse interests into that courtroom. We also work more closely with community leaders, faith-based organizations, and our law enforcement partners so that we are utilizing a variety of methods to resolve crime. Our goal being to keep young people from reoffending so that they have an opportunity to take advantage of an education or a trade and not the prison industrial complex. So I'm just coming here so that you know that you don't have to wait until the election year to see the state's attorney coming out into the community, that we will be here accessible. I have cards. I'm staying to the end of the program. If you wish to contact me, I am accessible, and I'm going to ask a favor of you. We rely on the community to provide information. If you see a young person in distress, a young person in need of service or intervention, that's what we're here for. We're not always here when a person is locked up or facing a judge in the court system. We try to prevent that. And so if you see young people who are struggling, you can reach out to the state's attorney's office. I answer my phone and I return calls so that we can do something together to make sure that our young people aren't court involved and they have an opportunity for a future. So with that, I just want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to come out today.
Thanks. Miriam, hold on for a minute. You know, the State's Attorney's Office also has a Crime Victims Assistance Program. Can you just a couple of words on that?
Yes.
If you ever become a victim of a crime, they also help with residency, temporary residency, and financial.
Yes, so there's different ways that the state's attorney's office can offer assistance to individuals through our victim witness and victim assistance program. There's funding available. I mean, we got to be honest, it's Cook County, so when I say there's some funding, it's not major funding, but there are some resources available to assist individuals, whether that's with relocation or just other social services. When we have individuals who are not citizens of the United States, who are victims of crime and need assistance with immigration or citizenship issues, we provide assistance in that regard too.
Okay, I got one last question.
Okay.
I got an unruly teen at home. Won't listen to me, or the mother, the father, and other than going to drastic means of strangling them, you put them out the house, and they're 15 years old. You're not going to live here unless you follow my rules, and you know, and they explode and they're out of the house. Is there any recourse, or is there any thing that the court or Cook County State's Attorney's Office would pursue against that parent?
Don't put your 15-year-old out the home. That's creating a situation where you're making your child dependent. So the state's attorney's office, my child protection division, we take cases like that where DCFS is involved because a parent has not fulfilled their obligation and has neglected the child. And so to prevent that, there are many social services that are available. If a parent is struggling with a child, you can go through the school system. If you call us, we'll give you recommendations too. The other thing I would advise you not to do, which actually does happen, is sometimes parents will drive up to the temporary detention center with their child and put their child out and be like, take my child and drive off. It's like, don't do that either. Yes, ma'am.
What if a child, a teenager the young man.
So-
What do you do with mental illness?
So in that regard, what the family would have to do is seek out mental health services through whether it's their own provider or through the county mental health resources. But the option isn't locking your child out of the home.
So everybody can hear.
They threw him out, and I ran into him walking out of my house. And I said, "Where are you going?" And he said, "I'm going to my cousin's house." And he asked that I not forget him. But he's dangerous. He's schizophrenic, and what if he doesn't take his medication?
So if
He was starting a gang, and he was selling drugs, and the parents, couldn't handle it.
So if the parent, the option cannot be to put your child out of the home. If the child is put out of the home, then if DCFS is notified, which the police will do, then DCFS will intervene. And in that situation, if there is DCFS intervention, the parent would have to communicate what these issues are to DCFS. DCFS can seek a no-fault dependency. It would depend on the investigation that DCFS does. So a no-fault dependency is where we would file a petition to have the state take temporary custody of that particular minor. A no-fault dependency, meaning through no fault of the parent, this child is dependent. And that does happen, especially in situations where the child has major psychiatric or medical issues, and as I said, through no fault of the parent, cannot adequately care for the child. And so in a situation like you described, you can even contact the state's attorney's office, and we'll go through the notifications of DCFS to send an investigator out. The other thing that you can do is DCFS has a hotline. You can make a hotline call anonymously if there's a problem or a situation such as you indicated, so that an investigator would come out to the home and conduct an investigation. And the DCFS would make the determination whether that case should be screened into court.
I think that this mental health problem should be addressed more
I know.
because it's a serious problem. I don't think anybody knows about any solutions.
I agree, and I would tell you that one of the things that we've noticed just across the board, and when I say across the board, I mean not in terms of just what you're saying in terms of dependency issues, but mental health globally. Our state is really lacking in mental health resources, and because of the lack of funding and resources, families don't have as many options as they used to have historically. That's a problem beyond what we can solve today. But I'll tell you this, as you have members of the state legislature who come and visit you, those are issues to raise with them, because our state leaders determine what the funding will be and where funding resources will go. And you've articulated an issue that impacts all of us.
Absolutely. Chief Mariam Ahmad is going to be here. She is not leaving. So any of you who might have some questions, you can actually still talk to her afterwards, but we still have a couple of more speakers. We're a little bit over time, and I appreciate your patience.
Thank
But
you
it's
very
good
much.
information.
One more. Mary, one of our residents here asked about elder abuse. And that's happening. You know, a lot of the caretakers that are involved with the elder, whether it's family or someone else, sometimes the abuse happens. Is there how does the state's attorney's office handle that?
The state's attorney's office has an elder abuse unit. Prosecutors who are specifically dedicated to prosecuting crimes against those who have abused our elderly and disabled individuals. And so if you have a loved one who is a victim of a crime, and when I say crime, not necessarily like physical crime, but like a financial crime, or is being taken advantage of in an illegal way, call the police so that criminal action can be taken. But we have, like I said, a special unit because it is a problem. It is a problem.
Great, thanks, Mary.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you.
All right, moving right along, we're at, what time is it about?
This is 10:40.
10:40. Our program usually lasts a couple of hours, but we had some good speakers today with some valuable information. And we still have the raffle, so if you're thinking about leaving, you won't have an opportunity to win in the raffle. That's why we hold it at the end of the program. But anyway, where are we going now?
Larry Golden. Larry Golden has some. All right. Larry Golden. Go ahead. Just introduce you. Go ahead.
Okay, all right. I promise I won't take long, and I'm not a Baptist minister, so you can probably take me at my word. Now, my name is Larry Golden, and I'm with the NCBA. That's the National Caucus and Center on Black Aging. Now, let me caution you, the name is actually a misnomer because we service all ethnicities and all nationalities. Now, the NCBA is a Title V CSEP program. It's a senior community service employment program. And it was enacted by Congress in 1970 to help older Americans who wish to re-enter the workforce obtain job training. Now, the NCBA has something for people as well as businesses. Now, to be eligible for the program, you must, one, live in Cook County, be unemployed, be 55 years and older, able to perform part-time training duties, which consist of 20 hours a week, which we pay you a stipend of $8.25 an hour. And you also must, you cannot exceed the annual 125% of the federal income guidelines. Now, if you qualify for the program, you will be assigned a job counselor who will help you with job readiness. He will help you upgrade your old skills and train you on new job skills, if you so wish. We provide you with job leads, we have job clubs, we hold job fairs. Now, that's the participant part. Now, for businesses, we mainly cater to nonprofit organizations, but we also deal with for-profit organizations. So for our training, we have like over 40 host agencies where we send our people to train. And these are just community service, community-based organizations such as schools, hospitals, resource centers, call centers, daycare centers. We pretty much run the gamut. So if we say you're a for-profit organization and you wish to become a host agency, all you have to do is fill out an application, have your general liability insurance, and be able to produce your 501c3 information. That's it. And what we'll do is we'll send people to your organizations to be trained, and we pay them. We pay them, no money comes out of your pocket. Now, for the for-profit organizations, we have a program that's called an OJE program. It's on-the-job experience, where if you decide to train one of our participants for up to 4 weeks, 1 to 4 weeks, we will reimburse you 100% of the training wages. We fall under the guidelines of the Department of Labor, and like Mark was saying earlier, we do pay our bills. And we also have another program that's up to 12 weeks, where we pay 50% of the participant's salary. And I guess with that being said, I'm going to conclude, and thank you, Mayor, for inviting us, and we'd love to come back anytime you have one of your, this is your, the coffee. All right, thank
Now,
you.
does that also apply, thank you, yeah, okay. Does that also apply if the village wants to hire some workers, say part-time during the summer or throughout the year? You know, because we have budget constraints too. So,
Absolutely. And it was one thing I neglected to say. For the seniors, if you're on SSI, you have retirement, disability, that money is what they consider non-includable. As a matter of fact, but yes, getting back to your question, sir. Yes, you can, we can send you people to work for the village anytime, but we mainly deal with seniors.
mainly, so if we wanted to hire some of our seniors that are not, you know, that are retired now, sitting at home, we can actually get you guys to pay for it?
Yes.
Okay.
But with the hopes that you're going to hire them in the end at some point.
Okay.
And if you're
Okay.
not satisfied with an individual that we send you, we'll send you someone else.
Okay. All right, it's good to know. Got a question back there?
Wait, hey, let me get to my microphone.
I can forward you some.
Hi, I was just curious as to, like, I know the Safer Foundation sometimes helps those who are coming out the penitentiary or penal systems, but I was wondering, does your organization also help seniors who have been in jail for a long time, and what about job placement?
Well, we're actually, your first answer is yes, we do. We help people with backgrounds. But keep in mind, we are a work-based training program. We don't find jobs, we just give them training, but we help them along. See, the individual has to do job searches on their own. And along with our help, we are pretty successful in finding jobs for them. All right, you're welcome. So, that's it? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Let's give him a round of applause. All right, great. Chief Mobley?
How many of you all remember when we had the mobile Secretary of State detail that was over at the Old Village Hall? Did you take advantage of it? Chief Mobley has some information he's going to give us. We're thinking about trying to do it again, and we're going to need.
No, we are going to do it.
We are going to do it again, and we're going to need your help. So please receive Deputy Chief Ernest Mobley.
Good morning. Good morning. Happy New Year to you all. Okay, in 2016, we did the Secretary of State mobile event over at the Old Village Hall. We want to do it this year, but we want to have a way better turnout. So this year, myself and Ashar, we created a sign-in sheet. I'm going to pass it around today, and then we're going to post it up over at the Village Hall and the Water Department. So when you pay your bills or come in or take care of any village business, that you can sign up. At a later date, we will then confirm that you are still going to come out, and then from there, I will make the contact to have the mobile field unit to come out. It's only for the citizens and residents of Dalton. Some of the services that you can take care of will be renewal and correction of driver's license, new renewal, correction of state ID, license plate stickers, motor voter registration with renewal of DL or ID. You can register to be an organ donor. Seniors age 65 and up, there will be no charge for state ID. Seniors age 75 and up need to visit the DMV to renew driver's license. Also, for the veterans, you now can get it put on your ID. If you come, just make sure you bring a certified copy of your DD-214, and now they put the veteran on the bottom of your state ID or driver's license, and it will look like that. So it eliminates you have to present your veteran's card. You can now show it on your driver's license. So I'm going to I'm going to start at this table, and we'll just pass it around to start up the sign up. And like I say, there will be some sign up sheets at the water department and also at the village hall. Any questions?
Chief,
Yes.
and the reason we're doing the sign up is because we have to have a significant number of participants in order for the Secretary of State to come out, because they bring out all that equipment for the renewal of the driver's license. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. What month are we looking to do this in?
I would say June is a good time.
That far?
Yeah.
I mean, if we can get enough people.
Yeah, if we
sign
get
up-
enough people, we could do it right
Early
away.
enough.
We get enough people to sign up and confirm, and then I can give them a number, and we
Maybe
can
we
get the
can
first
do it-
available date and
Maybe we
then
can do it
post
in
it on
March
the
or
website.
April. March or April,
Absolutely.
something like that. Now, this, if you see in the near future that you want to get your driver's license renewed, or you want to renew your state ID, have the veterans designation put on your driver's license, or any other activity that you want to do at the Secretary of State's office, this is a convenience for you, so you won't have to go to 99th Street or Chicago Heights or Midlothian. They're actually going to come to us. So, and even, I'm not sure, I think it's 60 days. I'm not sure. We can check on that. Your birthday's coming up. He said, well, I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait to the day before my birthday and get my driver's license renewed. You can actually get it renewed a little bit earlier. So, so you wanted to keep that in mind. And the sooner we can put this program on, we're going to put it on. And we're going to put it up on Channel 4 and do our media blitz with it, so we can get enough participants so Secretary of State can get out here to do their thing.
Absolutely.
Got a question back there.
When you mentioned the renewal of the driver's license after you are 75, is that the class?
I'm not sure if it's the class or
Because
not.
they do give a class, it lasts maybe 2-3 hours, on how to prepare for the road test. And I took it. They give you a book. They tell you exactly what's going to happen when you get there. I followed their instructions, and 45 minutes after I walked in the door, I was in the parking lot with my new license.
Great. That's good. You got a question, sir?
What about a suspended license?
A suspended license? I think you would have to actually go to the DMV for that, but I will check. But for suspended and to get it renewed, because you have to pay a different fee. You have to pay a reinstatement fee normally when your license are suspended.
Yeah. Plus, it depends on what the driver's license is suspended for. The state has taken on a program where, if you get so many tickets, they'll suspend your driver's license if you don't make some type of arrangements. So it depends on what it's for.
Okay, so please take advantage of this. The better turnout we have, if we have a good turnout this year in the first quarter, we can get them to come out in the second half, or they'll come out as many times as we like them, but we got to have a good turnout. So I know everybody has different birth dates, and if we can get these sheets filled up and for you all to actually commit, we can have them come out 2-3 times this year. They're more than happy to come out and service us.
Yeah, and if you don't have a state ID, everyone in the state of Illinois, upon the demand of a police officer, must produce identification. So if you don't have a state ID, it may be a good idea to come out and get a state ID. And if you have a driver's license, it's not a bad idea also to have a state identification card. So if you don't have one or the other, but these services will be available for you.
Yeah, so one more note. For you that have youth that's teenagers and they can get the ID or driver's license, make sure they keep them on them. Because if they get stopped by the police as well as us and you don't have an ID, we don't know who you are. So then that just detains you. especially if they're doing some type of investigation. You have to come in and get fingerprinted. Sometimes the prints come back in 5 minutes, sometimes they come back in 5 hours, depending on how busy the state of Illinois police are down at the headquarters.
Yeah, it is a state statute that upon a demand of a police officer, the individual must produce a valid ID. And valid would probably be the state identification. So a lot of the kids walk around, so I don't have any ID. When the police stop, I don't have an ID. The police officer has a right to take that individual down to the police department, print them, and hold them until they're identified. So if you don't want to be hassled, if you don't want your child to be hassled, please ask them to carry their ID with them at all times.
Okay, any more questions? All right, thank you.
Thanks, Chief. Where are we at? Oh, yeah, Tom, come on up here. Tom Shepard. Okay. Jerome, our coordinator here for refreshments and other activities and sound and everything else, says we still got refreshments left. They came a little late, but if you want more. Just a very good friend of mine, Tom Shepard.
Hi, Mayor.
So Tom called me last month and said, Mayor, we got Black History Month coming up. What are we going to do about it? He says, I've got an excellent play that has been going around, and I like to bring it to Dalton. So I told Tom to call Elizabeth, and they put the works in place, and Tom's going to tell you a little bit about this excellent play. Joan, you've seen it? Joan's seen it. She came in when I came in this morning, she almost attacked me, said, Mayor, you got to put this play on. People got to see this play. It is excellent. And here's the man right here that's going to make it happen. Tom Shepard.
Thank you, Mayor, and I'm pleased to be here with you this morning. Thank you. I'm representing a playwright who is from Dalton who wrote the play, and it's actually two plays, two short plays that will be one following the other with some musical interlude. It's going to be performed by a local troupe that I'm representing. I'm happy to represent an actress and director and narrator of the play on Saturday, February 24th at Faith United Methodist Church. That's 115 Grant Street, just off of Sibley in Chicago. And this is going to be, we have a portrayal of Harriet Tubman, who was probably the most prominent person who helped escape slaves on the Underground Railroad, and Sojourner Truth. And it's going to be both educational and as well as entertaining. It's going to be from 3 o'clock till 5 o'clock on February 24th. That's a Saturday. The important part and why we're really, really excited about hosting it here in Dalton and having the mayor's support, it's this tribute to Black History Month, because how many of you knew that the Calumet area and right here, the Dalton area, and the river just on the northern boundary of the village played a prominent role in the story of Black history and the Underground Railroad? So we have maybe a couple, one or two people, and certainly Joan. Joan's been very helpful in helping with our Joan Van Haren, helping to identify people that assisted the runaway slaves that came up through the Underground Railroad. And there was what was called a safe house just on the north side of the river, across from Dalton. And the originator and the first mayor of Dalton, and who the town is named for, played a prominent role in that. And he and his brother had a ferry right about Indiana Avenue to take people. There was commerce going on at the time, and we're talking about early on when this area was settled. and they had to get across the river. There was no bridge there like we drive over today to get across from Chicago or Riverdale to Dalton. So they had a ferry. They operated a ferry over there, and they were known down south as people to see if slaves were going to be able to make their way up here and head up here to freedom, and on their way eastward or up to Michigan and up to Canada. And then they would direct these escaped slaves to a safe house, which was right over by Beaubien Woods. Now, do you all know just on the other side is the Forest Preserve, just on the other side of the river is Beaubien Woods Forest Preserve. Just a little bit, about 200 feet west of the Forest Preserve, is what was known as the Jan Tun Farm. It was operated by an early Dutch settler named Jan, that's spelled Jan, and he settled over there in the 1840s. His wife was Aggie, and they were well known as a stopover and a place where the escaped slaves could refresh themselves, could get a meal, could sleep overnight, and then safely be sent on their way eastward. So what is going on right now is we are endeavoring to have a monument erected over at Beaubien Woods Forest Preserve, right on the river, right near where the Jan Tun Farm was, a monument that would honor the family there that helped the slaves escape on their way, and the Underground Railroad, and Harriet Tubman. Harriet Tubman is going to be portrayed in the play, and we'll be talking a little bit about this monument. So we are trying to build support for this, and we have the Cook County Forest Preserve. They're interested in doing this. It probably would be in the budget for 2019. Commissioner Moore, that was here earlier, has sponsored this, and we've met with the director of the Forest Preserves already. So it's a real exciting project. It will have a little pavilion there for school groups to be able to come out and hear talks about the Underground Railroad and its importance in our black history of the United States. And we hope that you all come out and see the play on Saturday, February 24th at 3 o'clock, and learn a little bit more about the how prominent a role that Dalton and the Calumet area and the river played in black history. So Elizabeth, you've been a big help in putting this together. We've done it in a real short amount of time, and it's going to be really a great opportunity for people to come out and enjoy an afternoon and learn about black history in the Calumet region and Dalton.
Great. Tom, I'm going to read you Tom's card here. Tom got a card here, and it says on here, business, labor, community, environment, tours, and special events.
I never knew what I wanted to be when I grew up, so
Right.
I just threw all that on there.
Right. Now, Tom has a passion for Dalton. He's a former Dalton resident, used to own a business here, and he was very significant in a few years back with getting the last active landfill in Cook County that's located in Dalton here closed. We actually was at the landfill, actually across the river. Across the river with Governor Quinn to sign that piece of legislation to get that landfill closed. As you know, a lot of the landfills that have been located in Cook County were located in areas where people of color or people in areas, well, I mean, not just color, but
disadvantaged communities.
Disadvantaged communities, which has suffered a high rate of cancer and illnesses. I'm not sure if it was directly related to those.
And bad odors.
And bad odors was one. And our residents along the corridor there at 142nd Street experienced that. But here's a man with the Southeast Environmental Task Force helped to get it closed.
Now, the mayor was a little bit modest, so I just want to add that he stood at the shore of the river with us in 2012 with Governor Quinn, and mayor was a trustee at that time, and he was the only trustee, and that's why I'm still here with this man, because he was the only trustee that stood up and said that he opposed the odors and the stench that came from that landfill over there. We've been friends ever since then. Yeah. And it was an uphill climb, I gotta say, because there were folks on the village board, including the former mayor, who didn't want to see that. We looked at who was getting contributions from that landfill, and I don't have to go into that. You can just use your imagination for things. And we were able to do that by the help of the mayor and a wide variety of environmentalists, and Governor Quinn, who very courageously, and I have to say, Marcus Evans, State Representative Marcus Evans, came out and helped out down in Springfield to get legislation passed.
Yeah, and it was an expensive plight. We took private planes to Springfield to fight on the floor for to get this landfill closed, but it was a health issue. We got ugly phone calls, ugly messages, but the leading cause, we didn't look at the financial aspect where some people had got those rewards, but we looked at it as a health issue, and it's closed today. So
thank you very much. Hope to see you on Saturday, September 24th for Black History Month play at Faith United Methodist Church.